You know that feeling when you're standing at the edge of something big, something you want, something that calls to you, but instead of stepping forward, you step back? Yeah, I'm talking to you. You know who you are. You overthink everything. You analyze until you're paralyzed, and before you know it, the moment's gone. That moment, the opportunity, the chance to speak up, to take a risk, to be vulnerable, to make a move, it slips away. And you're left with that punch in the gut feeling of instant regret. Because here's the truth. The one thing that triggers instant regret in an avoidant person is avoidance itself. You dodge the hard conversations. You ghost the people who matter. You pull away from the very thing your heart aches for. And then you sit there in the silence you created wondering why you feel so empty. It happens so fast, doesn't it? That instinct to run. You feel something real. Too real, and you pull away like touching a hot stove. And for a second, you convince yourself it's safety. I'm protecting myself. I don't want to get hurt. I'm just not ready. But here's the kicker. What you're calling protection is actually self-sabotage. That thing you're afraid of. It's not the other person. It's not failure. It's not even rejection. It's connection. It's being seen. It's being known. And the second you dodge it, the second you slip back into the shadows, boom, regret hits you like a truck. Because deep down, you know you just betrayed yourself again. I know it hurts. I know you've been through things. I know there are chapters of your story that made you believe it's safer not to feel, not to trust, not to show up. But if you keep letting that fear run the show, you're not protecting your peace. You're destroying your chance at joy. Avoidance feels like a relief in the moment, like dodging the bullet. But here's what no one tells you. It's not the moment you avoid that hurts. It's the after, the silence, the what-ifs, the why did I walk away from something that mattered. You don't even have to wait hours or days. Sometimes the regret is instant. It slaps you the second the door closes, the second the phone call ends, the second the chance walks away. And that regret? That's your soul screaming. Screaming that you wanted more, that you were meant for more, that you just missed a moment that could have changed everything. And I know, because I've been there. We all have. You shrink when you're supposed to rise. You detach when you should lean in. You stay silent when your heart is begging you to speak. And then you spend hours, days, sometimes years replaying it in your head, wondering what might have happened if you just had the guts to stay. Let me tell you something that will change your life if you let it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is doing the thing while you're afraid. Avoidance is your ego screaming, "Don't risk it." But your soul? Your soul whispers, "Try." And you have to choose which one you're going to listen to. Are you going to let fear run your life forever? Are you going to keep ghosting your potential, your people, your purpose? Or are you finally going to stop, take a breath, and face the moment? You don't have to leap 1,000 miles. Just take the first step. Answer the text, speak the truth. Stay in the conversation 1 minute longer. Let someone see you. You are not too broken. You are not too much. You are not too late. But you are responsible for what you choose to avoid. And if you keep choosing safety over authenticity, you will keep living with that gut punch of regret. That feeling of, I missed it again. Life isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's waiting for you to show up. Imperfect, scared, real. That's where the good stuff happens. That's where growth lives. That's where love lives. And listen to me. When you finally stop avoiding, when you finally show up and face the thing that scares you, you're going to feel something else. Relief, pride, freedom. Because you'll know you didn't betray yourself this time. You'll know you chose you. So the next time you're tempted to avoid, pause. Count down from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lean in. Say the thing. Take the risk. Stay. Because I promise you, no matter how scary it feels in the moment, it will never hurt as much as the regret of walking away from something real. Choose presence over protection. Choose connection over comfort. Choose the damn moment. because you deserve a life that's real, and you'll never get that if you keep running from it. Avoidance feels like a warm blanket when the world gets too loud. It's that quick breath of relief you take when you dodge an uncomfortable conversation, a tough decision, or a vulnerable moment. It feels like safety, like control, like protection. But let me be real with you. That sense of relief, it's temporary. It's a trick. Because what avoidance actually does is set you up for a deeper, more painful emotion that follows closely behind. Regret. Let's talk about it. You get that text, right? The one that touches something real. Maybe someone is opening up to you. Maybe they're offering you something vulnerable, something honest, and your heart feels it. Your gut tells you this matters. But then your brain kicks in. This is too much. What if I mess it up? What if they don't really mean it? And just like that, you freeze. You delay. You don't respond. You put your phone down like it's a bomb about to go off. And for a split second, you feel like you escaped something dangerous. But here's the truth. You didn't escape anything. You just abandoned something important. And your body knows it. That tightness in your chest, that spinning in your mind, that's not anxiety from the other person. That's the inner war inside you. The part that wanted to connect just got silenced by the part that's too scared to show up. And that silence is where regret starts to creep in. Not days later, not even hours later. Sometimes within seconds. That's the difference between real safety and fake safety. Real safety brings peace. Avoidance brings regret. Avoidance is a short-term fix that creates long-term pain. You might not see the cost right away, but it builds. Missed chances, unspoken words, broken connections, all because you thought avoiding it would be easier. And yeah, in the moment, it is easier. But easier doesn't mean better. Easier doesn't mean right. Avoidance is like putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. It covers it up just enough to pretend it's fine. But deep down, the wound is still bleeding. You see, avoidance isn't just about missing opportunities. It's about denying yourself growth. Every time you avoid a hard thing, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle discomfort, that you're not strong enough, that fear is in charge. And guess what? That becomes your pattern, your identity. I don't do confrontation. I'm just not good at emotions. I don't open up easily. Sound familiar? These aren't personality traits. They're habits, learned behaviors built from years of avoiding pain and living with the regret that follows. And let's get something straight. That regret doesn't go away on its own. It lingers. You start replaying the scene in your mind. What if I just said how I really felt? What if I hadn't walked away? What if I had the guts to show up just once for something real? That's the voice of your intuition. It's telling you the truth you already know. Avoidance robbed you of a moment that mattered. I get it. You think avoiding something hard will protect your heart. But here's the brutal reality. Avoidance doesn't protect your heart, it isolates it. And over time, that isolation feels like numbness, like loneliness, like a life half-lived. You're not avoiding pain. You're avoiding connection, purpose, and self-respect. So what do you do about it? You interrupt the pattern. You catch yourself in that split second before you back out, before you ghost, before you stay silent. You count backward, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you push yourself to act. You reply to the message. You say the hard thing. You stay in the conversation for 30 more seconds. That's it. That tiny moment of courage breaks the loop. And here's the beautiful part. Once you start choosing action over avoidance, something shifts. You begin to build trust in yourself. You start realizing you're more capable than you thought. And with every avoided regret, you gain something powerful. Pride, confidence, inner peace. Because you didn't run, you showed up. Avoidance might feel like a safety net, but it's really a cage. And the door's open. You just have to walk through it. Will it feel scary? Absolutely. Will it be worth it? Every single time. Because the pain of facing something hard is temporary, But the regret of walking away from something real, that stays. And you're too smart, too strong, and too worthy to keep living in that cycle. So next time you're tempted to run, don't. Breathe. Count down. Step in. Because avoidance might feel safe, but action, even scared, shaky action, is the only thing that leads to a life with no regrets. Let's get brutally honest about something most people won't admit. You're not actually afraid of rejection. That's what you say, right? I don't want to be rejected. I'm scared they'll walk away. What if they don't like the real me? Sounds reasonable. Sounds safe. But it's not the truth. The real fear, the one buried under all those excuses, isn't about being pushed away. It's about being seen. It's about connection. Because the second someone sees who you really are, the second you allow someone to touch the real you, it feels terrifying. It feels risky. And that's the real thing you're trying to avoid. Let's call it out. Rejection is easy to fear because it gives you control. It lets you hold your vulnerability at arm's length. I didn't open up because I didn't want to be hurt. Sounds noble, right? Self-protective. But let's not pretend. That fear of rejection is a disguise. What you're actually afraid of is what happens when someone doesn't reject you. What happens when they stay, when they get close, when they see the parts of you you've been hiding, even from yourself. Because that kind of intimacy, that kind of emotional exposure, that's not something you've been trained to handle. It shakes you. It rattles the walls you've built around yourself. And suddenly, you're not in control anymore. That's the real fear. Not, they might leave, but they might stay. And then what? What if you don't know how to handle love that isn't earned through perfection? What if you don't know how to trust someone who's not judging you? What if connection feels too foreign, too overwhelming, too real? Avoidant people, let's talk. You've gotten really good at managing distance. You flirt, you joke, you're charming as hell. But when someone gets too close, when the connection stops being surface level and starts touching something deeper, you pull away, you shut down, you back off. Not because the other person is doing something wrong, not because the connection isn't good, but because it's too good. It's real, and real triggers every alarm in your nervous system. Connection, to someone who's spent their life avoiding vulnerability, feels like losing control. And losing control feels like danger. You think, if I let them see the real me, they'll eventually leave anyway. So you preemptively sabotage it. You withdraw before you can be hurt. You abandon before you can be abandoned. But here's the truth. That cycle is hurting you more than any rejection ever could. Why? Because every time you back away from real connection, you affirm the lie that you're unlovable, that you're too much, that you have to stay hidden, that nobody can handle the real you, and that lie becomes a belief. That belief becomes a habit, and that habit becomes your life. But let me tell you something. Connection is not the enemy. It's the answer. You are wired for it. Your brain, your heart, your soul, they crave it. That's why avoidance doesn't feel like peace. That's why you lay awake at night replaying the conversation, wondering what might have happened if you just leaned in. Because deep down, your spirit knows. You didn't want to run. You wanted to be known. You wanted to stay. You just didn't know how. So how do you change that? You start by recognizing that your fear isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're on the edge of something important, something that matters. The moment you feel that tightness in your chest, that urge to pull back, that instinct to shut down, that's not the cue to run. That's the cue to pause, to breathe, to choose differently. You don't have to leap headfirst into vulnerability. You don't have to spill your whole heart. Just take one step. Let the moment happen. Don't ghost. Don't overthink. Don't talk yourself out of something just because it feels unfamiliar. Give yourself permission to try, to stay, to receive love, not just perform for it. Because here's what happens when you face the fear of connection. It starts to lose its grip. You realize that letting someone in doesn't mean you'll lose yourself. You realize that you can be seen and still be safe. And eventually, you stop living in defense mode. You stop bracing for heartbreak that hasn't even happened. And you start living in the moment with your heart open, your walls down, and your soul finally free. So stop blaming fear of rejection. That's not the thing holding you back. What's holding you back is the belief that real connection is unsafe. But it's not. Avoidance is what's unsafe. Isolation is what's killing your spirit. Disconnection is what's robbing you of the love, peace, and belonging you crave. You don't need to fear connection. You need to trust yourself enough to allow it. Because the truth is, you're not too broken, you're not too complicated, and you're not too late. You're just scared, and that's okay. But being scared is not a reason to run. It's a reason to rise. Now lean in, show up, be seen. Because real connection, that's where life actually begins. Let's not sugarcoat this. Every time you avoid something that matters, every time you walk away from a difficult conversation, silence your truth, or ghost an opportunity because it feels uncomfortable, you betray yourself. And I know that sounds harsh, but you need to hear it. Because the reason you're stuck, the reason you're not where you want to be, the reason you feel this low-grade guilt and emotional exhaustion all the time, it's not because life is unfair or people are too hard to deal with. It's because you keep abandoning yourself in the moments that matter most. Let's break that down. When you avoid, you're not just dodging a tough moment. You're rejecting your own voice. You're saying, my feelings don't matter. My needs aren't worth the risk. My truth is too much. And whether you realize it or not, those little choices pile up. They become your default setting. You hesitate instead of speaking up. You pull away instead of leaning in. You say, I'm fine, when your soul is screaming that you're not. And then you wonder why you feel disconnected from your life, why nothing feels fully satisfying, why regret shows up like clockwork the moment you're alone. It's because deep down, you know what you wanted to do. You knew what the right move was, and you didn't do it. That's what self-betrayal is. It's not a dramatic act. It's a quiet erosion of your integrity. It's the gap between who you are and how you're showing up. And the longer you avoid facing that, the louder the inner conflict becomes. You start doubting yourself, not because you're incapable, but because every time you avoided truth, your brain recorded it as failure. You start believing the lie that you're weak, indecisive, not built for real connection or courage. And none of that is true. The problem isn't that you're broken. The problem is that you've practiced betrayal for so long that you've mistaken it for protection. You've convinced yourself that staying silent keeps the peace, that pulling away keeps you safe. But what it actually does is keep you small. It keeps you locked in a version of life that's half lived, half felt, half expressed. You weren't meant for that. You weren't built to shrink. You were built to stand in your truth. Even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if your heart pounds like a drum in your chest. You know that moment, right before you avoid, the one where your chest tightens and your gut says, say something, stay, show up. That's not anxiety. That's your inner wisdom. That's your truth, knocking on the door, begging to be let out. And when you turn away from that moment, when you avoid it, you're not avoiding someone else. You're abandoning yourself. Let me be clear. This is not about perfection. This is not about always saying the right thing or making the brave choice 100% of the time. This is about integrity, self-alignment, knowing what matters to you, what's right for you, and making damn sure you stop walking away from it just because it feels scary. You owe it to yourself to show up in those moments. Not for them. Not for appearances, but for you. Because the more you show up for yourself, especially when it's hard, the more trust you build. And trust in yourself? That's the most powerful thing on the planet. When you stop betraying your needs, when you stop ghosting your gut instincts, when you stay in those uncomfortable moments instead of escaping them, you begin to build a different kind of life. One that's honest, one that's bold, one that feels like you. So next time you catch yourself slipping into avoidance, stop. Get quiet. Ask yourself, what do I really want right now? And whatever the answer is, honor it. Don't wait for the perfect words. Don't wait for the fear to go away. Say it. Do it. Show up. Because the only way to rebuild that broken trust with yourself is to stop betraying what you know is right in your gut. Avoidance is a habit, but so is self-respect. And every time you choose courage over comfort, honesty over silence, presence over escape, you're writing a new story. You're telling yourself, I matter. You're saying, I've got my own back. And that shift, that's where transformation starts. So no more ghosting yourself. No more putting your truth on the back burner. You've done that for long enough, and it's cost you more than you even realize. It's time to show up for your voice, for your needs, for your life, because the longer you avoid, the louder regret gets. But the moment you choose to stay, to speak, to stand tall, you'll finally feel what it means to be in alignment with the person you were always meant to be. And that is power. That is freedom. That is you without betrayal. Regret doesn't sneak up on you days later. It's not some slow burn that gradually builds over time. No. Regret is instant. It hits you like a gut punch, like a wave crashing over your chest, the very moment you walk away from something that mattered. And you know why it hits so fast? Because your soul, the deepest, truest part of you, recognizes that something valuable was just lost. This isn't about logic. This isn't about pros and cons or strategic timing. This is about the raw, real energy of truth. When you're faced with a moment of vulnerability, honesty, connection, or growth, and you choose to shut down, pull away, or hide, you feel it immediately. You don't need someone to tell you you messed up. You don't need a sign from the universe. Your body knows. Your intuition knows. Your soul knows. Think about it. You're in a moment. Someone opens up to you. A window cracks open, maybe just a little, and for a split second, you feel something real. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's potential. Maybe it's just a chance to show up as your authentic self. But you freeze. You overthink. You retreat. And then you don't say what you wanted to say. You don't follow through. You don't stay. And then, bam, the regret sets in instantly, like the oxygen just got sucked out of the room, like something inside of you quietly whispered, that was it, and you just let it slip away. That's what happens when your soul recognizes a loss. It's not always about what was, it's about what could have been. It's about the version of you that almost stepped up, the life that almost shifted, the connection that almost deepened, the healing that almost began. And let me tell you something, the mind can rationalize anything. It'll say, it wasn't the right time, or they probably didn't mean it anyway, or I'll deal with it later. But your soul doesn't do rationalization. It deals in truth. And truth has a frequency you can feel. It's that hollow ache in your chest, that restless energy in your gut, that voice in your head that keeps replaying the moment over and over again, not because you want to, but because something inside you needs closure that never came. You see, when you avoid something meaningful, it doesn't just disappear, it doesn't resolve on its own. That moment stays with you. It lingers in your memory, not as a passing scene, but as a missed doorway. And you can pretend it didn't matter. You can distract yourself, numb yourself, move on. But deep down, that moment owns a piece of your story, and your soul knows it. That's why avoidant people often carry a low-grade heaviness, a sense of something missing, even when things seem fine. That's the weight of untaken chances, unspoken truths, unlived moments. Your soul remembers them all. You can't outrun that. So what do you do with that regret? You listen to it, you stop shoving it down, and start letting it teach you. Because regret is not just punishment, it's feedback. It's your soul saying, hey, that mattered. Don't make the same choice next time. It's your inner compass pulling you back into alignment, back to your truth, back to the kind of life where you stop ghosting your feelings and start honoring them instead. That's what healing looks like. Not perfection, not getting it right every time, just recognizing the moments when you didn't show up fully and making a different choice when that moment comes again. Because here's the secret. The more you honor your truth in real time, the less regret you carry. The more you lean into connection, vulnerability, action, even when it's uncomfortable, the more peace you feel afterward. You replace that sinking feeling of loss with the grounded feeling of pride, confidence, self-respect. Your soul wants one thing: to live honestly. That doesn't mean oversharing or being reckless. It means showing up with your whole self when it counts. Speaking up when your gut says, say something. Staying when everything in you wants to run, but your heart knows you care. Taking the leap when your future depends on it. So stop treating regret like a nuisance. Start treating it like a signal. When it shows up instantly, don't ignore it. Don't distract from it. Ask yourself, what did I just turn away from? What truth did I just abandon? And then own it. Use it. Let it wake you up. Because the next time your soul recognizes something real, don't run. Don't overthink. Don't ghost yourself. Stay. Lean in. Say it. Do it. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, feels better than walking away from a moment knowing you gave it everything you had. That's how you build a life with fewer regrets. Not by avoiding the loss, but by showing up for the moment that matters, while it's still here. Let's get something straight. Avoiding hard conversations, dodging emotional risk, disappearing when things get too real, none of that is protection. It feels like it in the moment, doesn't it? That hit of relief when you cancel the date, send the text saying, I'm busy, or just stop replying altogether. That second of calm when you walk away instead of speaking up. You tell yourself, I just dodged a bullet. I protected my peace. But here's the truth you don't want to hear. You didn't protect anything. All you did was push the pain further down the road. Avoidance doesn't solve the problem. It just buys you time. And not the good kind, the kind that adds weight, emotional interest. The longer you delay feeling what you need to feel, the heavier it becomes. The more you suppress what's real, the louder it grows in your head. Avoidance is like swiping a credit card for pain. You get that short-term relief now, and the full bill shows up later, with interest. And it always shows up, always. You think you're skipping the heartbreak by ghosting someone before they can hurt you, but the pain still comes. It just shows up in the quiet moments, when you're lying in bed, scrolling through old texts, wondering what if. It comes when you can't stop thinking about the words you never said, the opportunities you left unread, the version of you that almost stepped up. And let's be real, that kind of pain, that slow, nagging ache of regret, that's way worse than the temporary discomfort of showing up and facing the truth. Because when you avoid pain, you don't avoid feeling it, you avoid processing it. And unprocessed pain turns into anxiety, resentment, low self-worth, and indecision. It eats at you. And then you wonder why you don't feel connected to anyone, why you're stuck in cycles of overthinking and self-doubt. It's not because you're broken, it's because you've been storing pain that was meant to be released, not buried. Listen, we all avoid sometimes. It's human. But if avoidance has become your strategy for coping with anything uncomfortable, love, conflict, intimacy, responsibility, then you're not protecting your heart. You're numbing it. And when you numb yourself to pain, you also numb yourself to joy, connection, purpose, everything you say you want. You think you're keeping yourself safe, but you're keeping yourself small. You're building a life that's managed, not lived. And I'm not here for that. You weren't born to survive. You were born to thrive. You were made for full-hearted, full-bodied, truth-telling, soul-expanding living. But you can't access any of that if you're hiding behind fear. Let's talk about that fear for a second. What are you really afraid of? That someone won't understand you? That you'll say something awkward? That you'll cry or get rejected or be seen as too much? So what? That's called being human. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. You have to be honest. Because healing starts the moment you stop trying to control the outcome and start showing up for what's real, even if it's messy, even if it's hard. Here's the truth bomb. Avoiding pain doesn't make you strong. Facing it does. Walking into the hard conversation, standing in your vulnerability, choosing connection over comfort, that's where your power lives. That's how you heal. That's how you grow. Not by shutting down, but by staying open. Because when you face pain head on, it passes. It moves through you. You cry, you shake, you breathe, you speak, and suddenly it's not holding you hostage anymore. You get your power back. You get your clarity back. And guess what else? You stop fearing those moments so much. You start trusting yourself to handle them. You start realizing, I can do hard things. I can feel what I need to feel and still be okay. That's when everything shifts. So stop lying to yourself. Stop calling avoidance boundaries when it's actually fear. Stop pretending that disappearing is noble. It's not. It's a delay tactic. And the longer you delay, the more damage you do. Not just to others, but to yourself. You don't need to delay the pain. You need to deal with it. Face it. Feel it. Speak through it. Heal it. Because that's how you reclaim your life. That's how you turn regret into resilience, fear into fuel, and avoidance into action. You're not protecting yourself when you avoid. You're robbing yourself of the breakthrough that was waiting for you on the other side of that moment. And that breakthrough, it's not coming through safety. It's coming through courage. So show up, speak up, feel it all. And then, finally, you'll be free. You know that moment. The one that plays on a loop in your mind. The moment you could have stayed, could have said something, could have shown up fully. But instead, you walked away. You avoided. You shut down. You said, I'm fine, even though you weren't. And then, the second you walked away, the truth hit you like a freight train. You missed it. You missed the chance to connect, to be seen, to be real. That's the gut punch of avoidance. It doesn't hurt when you're walking away. It hurts the moment you realize what you left behind. Let's be clear. Connection is everything. It's not just about romantic love or deep friendships. Connection is being known. It's the moment someone looks at you and really sees you. It's being in the room and letting someone witness who you actually are. Your fears, your quirks, your dreams, your mess. And when you avoid, when you choose silence over truth, distance over presence, comfort over vulnerability, you cut off that connection before it even has a chance to exist.